Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me clear up before we begin?
Yes, loud and clear from Penang. I think my internet is behaving well today for once.
Morning everyone, same here. Hopefully no connection problem like the previous meeting. Last time, my screen froze halfway through the discussion.
Good morning, board members.
Sorry everyone, I joined a bit late just now. My laptop suddenly updated itself before the meeting started.
That's the problem with technology nowadays. It always updates at the worst possible time.
At least Encik Aliman managed to join the meeting of before the meeting officially started. That's still considered early by some people.
I thought I was going to be the last person entering the meeting room actually.
No worries, we are still on time.
Dato, I believe all board members are already present.
Good. Before we officially begin, has everyone received the agenda and supporting document circulated yesterday evening?
Yes, Dato. I went through most of the paper last night, especially the section regarding the Iran crisis and the proposal to convert the company into private entity.
Yeah, honestly, after reading the agenda, I think today's meeting might take longer than our usual board meeting.
Most probably, yes. There are quite a few major matters that require proper discussion and direction from the board.
Especially with the current market situation. Every month seems to bring a new challenge lately.
That's true. The business environment has become much more unpredictable compared to previous year. A few years ago, we were discussing recovery after the pandemic, then supply chain disruption, and now geopolitical conflict again.
The difficult part is that all these issues are connected somehow. One conflict in another region can suddenly affect operation here in Malaysia.
Exactly. Even simple planning has become more difficult nowadays because price and market conditions change so quickly.
I was speaking with one supplier last week and even they admit they cannot confidently forecast price anymore.
That's why companies must become more careful with financial planning and risk management uh, moving forward.
Dato, quorum is present and the meeting may officially proceed.
All right, thank you, Miss Tina. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hereby call the board director meetings of Ranjat Niaga Fertilizer Berhad to order at exactly 10 a.m. First of all, thank you everyone for making time to attend today meetings despite your busy schedule. I understand several directors are traveling and joining remotely today, so your commitment is very much appreciated. As everyone is aware, today's meeting involves several important matters concerning the company's financial position, future direction, and preparation for the upcoming AGM. Therefore, I hope we can have open and constructive discussion throughout the session. Before we proceed further, I was informed earlier that our newly appointed Assistant Secretary, Ms. Pearly Chan, is unable to attend today's meetings.
Yes, Dato. She informed me early this morning that she has an urgent family matter that she could not attend the session today.
I see. It's unfortunate because this meeting would have been a good exposure for her, especially with AGN preparation approaching soon. Since she is still new to the company, she needs to familiarize herself quickly with board meeting procedure and AGM documentation.
Yes, Dato, I understand. I will brief her all matter that we discussed today and guide her through the AGM preparation process afterwards.
Good. Please make sure she understands the timeline properly because AGM preparation always requires close coordination.
especially this year, there are more matters to prepare compared to previous AGM session.
Yes, Dato. The notice preparation, board papers, and shareholder documents are already in progress.
Very good. I also hope all directors have reviewed the agenda carefully because several discussions today may require follow-up action from management afterward.
Yes, Dato. I think the discussion regarding the current market condition and the proposed privatization may require deeper consideration from the board.
I agree, those are not small matters and we should evaluate them carefully before making major decisions.
Especially with the current economic uncertainty, the company needs to remain cautious before moving forward.
Exactly. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further preliminary matters, let us officially proceed with the first agenda item. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let us proceed with the first agenda item, which is the confirmation of minute from the previous Board of Directors meeting held last night. The draft minute were circulated earlier by the company secretary for everyone review. I believe all directors have already gone through the document.
Yes, Dato. I reviewed the minute last night. Everything seems properly recorded.
Same here. I think the minutes reflected the previous discussion quite clearly.
Yes, I have reviewed them as well.
Good. I hope everyone had enough time to review the minutes because several matters from the previous meeting are connected to today's discussion too.
Yes, Dato, especially the operational and financial matters that management has been monitoring over the past few weeks.
Exactly. Before we proceed with confirmation, are there any comments or matter requiring clarification regarding the minutes?
Nothing from me, Dato. Everything seems in order.
Same here.
No issue from my side as well.
Okay. Alright, that's good. It's important that meetings minutes are properly reviewed because they serve as official company records and reference for future follow-up actions. Sometimes small decisions discussed during board meetings become important later, especially when management implements strategic or financial matters.
That's true. Proper documentation is very important, especially for corporate governance purposes.
Exactly. If there are no further comments, may I have a proposal to confirm the minutes?
I would like to propose that the minutes be confirmed.
I second the proposal.
Thank you. The minutes of the previous Board of Director meetings are hereby confirmed. Ms. Tina, please record accordingly.
Noted, Dato.
Before we move to the next agenda, I would also like to remind management to ensure that all follow-up matters from previous meeting are monitored properly. Board discussion should always be followed by proper actions and implementation. Otherwise, we will keep discussing the same issues repeatedly without progress.
Understood, Dato'. Management has been monitoring the relevant action items and several updates will be covered in today's meeting.
Good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let us proceed to the next agenda regarding matters arising from the previous meeting. Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let us proceed to the next agenda item, which is matters arising from the previous meeting. Datuk Sohaili, perhaps management can provide a brief update on the ongoing matters discussed previously.
Thank you, Dato'. One of the main ongoing matters is regarding the warehouse expansion project that was discussed during the previous board meeting. At the moment, management is still reviewing the revised quotation submitted by contractors because construction and material costs have increased quite significantly over the past few weeks.
I have one question. Are the increases mainly related to imported materials?
Yes, especially steel-related materials and transportation costs. Some suppliers revised their quotations again recently.
Honestly, almost every sector is facing the same situation now. Costs keep increasing and planning has become much harder compared to before.
Exactly. That's why management does not want to rush into any major commitment until we reassess the budget carefully.
Would delaying the project affect operations significantly?
Not immediately, but warehouse capacity may become tighter towards the end of the year if sales continue growing as projected.
Personally, I think management is taking the correct approach. Current market conditions are still too uncertain for aggressive spending.
I agree. Cash flow management should remain a priority for the company at this stage.
Very true. Please continue monitoring the situation closely and update the board once management finalize its assessment.
Certainly, Dato'.
Alright then, if there are no further matters arising, let us proceed to the next agenda regarding the impact of the Iran war crisis on the company's operation and financial position. Thank you everyone. We shall now move to the next agenda regarding the impact of the Iran war crisis on the company's operation and financial performance. I understand management has prepared a presentation for the board today. Datuk Sohaili, please proceed.
Thank you, Dato'. Miss Tina, can you move to the next slide? Alright. Alright, as everyone is aware, the geopolitical conflict involving Iran has affected global trade and supply chains quite significantly over the past few months. For R for RNFB For RNFB specifically, the biggest impact currently involves fertilizer, raw materials, particularly ammonia and urea imports. Over the last 2 months, management observed significant increase in raw material price, shipping costs, insurance charge, and currency-related imported costs. Previously, price movement were still manageable. However, recently, suppliers started revising quotation more aggressively due to market uncertainty and transportation risks. For certain raw materials, costs increased almost 30% compared to the previous quarter. Apart from pricing issues, shipment schedule also become less stable. Several suppliers inform management about possible delivery delays depending on regional port conditions and shipping availability. Currently, operations remain stable because the company still maintains inventory buffer. However, future planning has become more difficult due to uncertainty of global conditions.
Yes.
As everyone can see from the financial summary shown on the screen, the company's cash and bank balance decreased from approximately 19 million in 2024 to around 11 million in 2025. At the same time, inventories increased significantly as management tried to maintain sufficient raw material stock due to supply chain uncertainty. Although the company still records profit for the financial year, operating cash flow has become tighter compared to previous periods. The weaker ringgit also continues increasing procurement costs because most raw material purchases are denominated in US dollars. Because of these developments, management is becoming more cautious regarding cash flow management, capital expenditure, inventory planning, and future operational commitments. In response to the situation, management is currently focusing on operational cost control, supplier diversification, inventory planning, and expenditure optimization. Management also started discussion with alternative suppliers from China and Indonesia to reduce dependency on existing supply sources. That concludes management's presentation for this agenda. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato' Suhaili, for the presentation. I think the board now has a much clearer picture regarding the operational and financial challenges currently faced by the company. The floor is now open for discussion.
Actually, one thing that caught my attention was the decline in the company's cash position shown earlier, dropping from around 19 million to 11 million within a year is definitely something the board needs to monitor closely.
Yes, management shares the same concern. At the moment, operations are still manageable, but if costs continue increasing while shipment schedule remain unstable, management may need to make further operational adjustment later.
I was thinking about that too actually. The difficult part is not only about the increase in cost, but the uncertainty itself. When prices and supply schedule keep changing unpredictably, planning becomes much harder.
Exactly. Normally, procurement forecasts can be prepared earlier with more confidence, but now the finance and procurement teams need to revise estimates quite frequently because market conditions change too quickly.
Honestly, situations like this really show how dependent business are on global supply chains nowadays. Even though the conflict is happening far from Malaysia, local companies like us still feel the impact almost immediately.
That's true. After the pandemic and now this geopolitical issue, many companies are starting to realize that depending too heavily on one supplier or one region create bigger long-term risks.
And I also want to add something that maintaining higher inventory level also ties up more cash for the company. So I can understand why management is becoming more cautious financially.
Actually, IT management decision to postpone certain non-essential expenditure is reasonable under current market condition. Cash flow discipline is extremely important now because nobody knows how long the instability will continue.
Exactly. That's why management is trying to balance operational stability and financial caution carefully.
What about customer? Are we planning to revive product pricing anytime soon? Because in realistic, if costs continue increasing, eventually the company may not have much choice.
Management is evaluating that carefully now. Price adjustment may become necessary if the situation continues, but we also understand customers themselves are facing financial pressure too. So communication will be very important.
Rohani?
I think customer may still understand if the increase is reasonable and properly explained. Since almost every industry is facing rising costs now anyway.
Yes, but management should probably avoid sudden drastic increases. Gradual adjustment may be better for customer relationships.
That's currently management approach as well.
What concern me actually is the long-term uncertainty. Previously, business mainly focused on profitability and expansion, but now companies also need strong contingency planning because global disruption are becoming more common.
I agree that nowadays companies need to prepare for uncertainty as a part of normal business operation already.
That's very true. Actually, management is already reviewing procurement flexibility, operational contingency planning, and improvement to the company's risk management framework.
Good. I think this discussion has been very productive because the board is not only discussing immediate operational pressure but also the company's longer term financial sustainability and resilience moving forward. Datuk Sohaili, please prepare a more detailed risk mitigations paper for further board review during the next meeting.
Noted, Datuk. Management will prepare the report accordingly.
Thank you, everyone. We shall now continue with the next agenda regarding the proposed conversion of the company status. Thank you, everyone. We shall now proceed to the next agenda regarding the proposed conversion of the company from a public company into a private company. Datuk Sohaili, please continue with the management presentation.
Thank you, Datuk. Ms. Tina, can you move to the next slide? Okay, as discussed earlier, management has been reviewing several strategy options to strengthen the company's position under current market condition. One of the proposals currently being considered is the possible conversion of RNFB from a public company into a private company. The proposal mainly comes from the increasing operational and financial pressure faced by the company over the past few years. As discussed earlier during the financial review, the company's cash position declined from approximately 90 million to 11 million, while operating costs and inventory commitments also increased significantly. Management therefore believes the company needs greater flexibility in managing its long-term restructuring and operational planning moving forward. Management believes that becoming a private company may provide a flexibility for long-term planning and restructuring. It may also allow management to focus more on long-term business stability without too much short-term market pressure. Especially during current market conditions, management believes the company needs to prioritize financial stability, cost management, and operational resilience rather than aggressive expansion plans. However, management is also aware that the proposal requires careful review, especially regarding shareholders' interests, financing considerations, and legal requirements. At this stage, management is only seeking the board's agreements to continue studying the proposal before any final decision is made. That concludes management's presentation for this agenda. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Datuk Sohaili. The floor is now open for discussion.
After seeing the earlier financial figure and decline in cash reserve, I can understand why management is considering this proposal now. The company has clearly been under increasing pressure, correct?
That's true. And with the company already becoming more cautious financially, reducing unnecessary compliance and administrative costs may help management focus more efficiently.
At the same time, this is still a major decision for the company. Datuk Suhaili, has management considered how minority shareholder may react if the proposal move forward later?
Yes, management has discussed that internally. We understand some shareholders may have concerns, especially regarding the company's future directions. That's why management plans to obtain proper legal and financial advice first before making any recommendation to shareholders. If the proposal proceeds further later on, shareholders' communication will also be very important.
I think a clear communication will definitely matter. If shareholders understand the actual reason behind the proposal, they may view it differently. The current market situation is affecting many companies, not only RNFB.
Exactly. After the earlier discussion on rising raw material costs and tighter cash flow, I think most people can understand why management want more flexibility moving forward, especially when the company is already dealing with increasing procurement, commitment, and operational uncertainty.
My only concern is whether becoming private later may limit the company's fundraising option in the future.
That actually crossed my mind as well, actually. Especially if the company plan future expansion once market condition improve again.
That is one of the matters management is still reviewing carefully. At the moment, management believes the company's priority should be operational stability, stronger cash flow management, and careful financial control first. Future financing options will also be considered properly before any final recommendation is brought to the board or shareholders.
I think that's reasonable for now. The important thing is making sure the company studies all impli- the important thing is making sure the company study all implications carefully before making such a major move.
Very good discussion. Datuk Sohaili, please continue with the detailed assessment and obtain the necessary professional advice regarding the proposal. The board also notes that if management decide to proceed further later on, the proposal would need to be presented on shareholder for consideration and approval during a general meeting.
Noted, Datuk.
Thank you everyone. We shall now move to the next agenda regarding the proposed share buyback exercise. Thank you everyone. We shall now move to the next agenda regarding the proposed share buyback exercise. Datuk Sohaili, please continue with management presentation.
Alright, thank you, Datuk. Miss Tina, can you move to the next slide? Alright. Management is proposing that the company undertake a share buyback exercise involving up to 1.5 million ordinary shares of RNFB. The proposal forms part of management's current strategy to strengthen shareholders' value and support the company's long-term restructuring plans. As everyone can see from the earlier financial review, the company's cash reserve declined from approximately 90 million to 11 million during the financial year. Because of that, management intends to approach this proposal cautiously and in a controlled manner. Despite the tighter cash positions, management believes the company still remains financially stable enough to undertake a limited share buybacks exercise without significantly affecting daily operations. Management also believes the proposal may help stabilize the company's shareholding structure during the current uncertainty market period. However, the exercise will only be carried out gradually depending on market conditions, operational commitments, and the company's financial position from time to time. Management's priority remains cash flow stability, careful financial management, and operational sustainability moving forwards. If approved by the board, the proposal would later be presented to shareholders during upcoming AGM for approval. That concludes management's presentation for this agenda. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Datuk Sohaili. The floor is now open for discussion.
I think the proposal seems reasonable, especially since management plans to implement it gradually. But considering the earlier financial presentation, I think management still need to monitor the company's cash flow very carefully moving forward.
Yes, I did agree with Rohani's statement, especially after seeing the decline in cash reserve earlier. Current market conditions are still unstable, so preserving sufficient cash should remain one of the company's priorities.
At the same time, a share buyback may also send a positive signal to shareholders at the market. It shows that company still has confidence in its long-term position despite current challenges.
And I think some shareholders may naturally connect this proposal with the yearly privatization discussion. Dato' Suhaili, does management expect both proposals to be explained together during the AGM later?
Most likely, yes. Management expects shareholders may raise questions regarding the relationship between both proposals. Because of that, management and the company secretary will prepare proper explanation and supporting documents before the AGM.
That would be totally fair. If shareholders clearly understand the purpose behind the proposal, the discussion during the AGM may become smoother.
Another good thing for the company is that management is not planning to implement the buyback too aggressively. At least, the company still have flexibility to monitor market condition and cash flow first before making further purchases.
Exactly. Management intends to proceed carefully throughout the process. The company's financial stability will remain the main priority before any share purchases are made.
Thank you everyone for the constructive discussion. Based on today's discussion, the board agrees in principle with the proposed share buyback exercise, subject to compliance with the Companies Act 2016, Bursa requirement and shareholder approval during the forthcoming AGM. Management and the company secretary may proceed with the necessary preparation and documentation.
Noted, Dato'.
Very well. We shall now continue with the next agenda regarding clarification from the external auditor. Thank you everyone. We shall now continue with the next agenda regarding clarification from the external auditor on matters related to the proposed private entity, exemption and related compliance implications. I understand the external auditor has joined us for this discussion. Thank you for attending today's meetings.
Thank you, Dato', and good morning to all the members of the board.
Datuk Suhaili, perhaps management can briefly explain the purpose of these sessions before we proceed further.
Alright, thank you, Dato'. Following the earlier discussions on the proposed privatizations and share buyback exercise, management requested clarification from the external auditor regarding several legal, governance and reporting matters if the company proceed with those proposals later on. Management would like the board to better understand the possible implication of private entity exemptions, the company's continuing governance responsibilities, shareholders related requirements, and matters involving audits and financial reporting obligations. That's all from management for this agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Datuk Suhaili. Perhaps the external auditor may continue with the clarification.
Okay. Thank you, Dato'. In general, if the company decide to convert into a private company, certain reporting and disclosure requirements may become less extensive compared to a listed public company. For example, the company may no longer be required to comply with certain Bursa-related announcement obligation and public disclosure requirements, but the company would still need to maintain proper accounting records, annual financial reporting and governance responsibility under the Companies Act 2016. So while there may be some operational flexibility, directors' duty and responsibility would still remain very important. Another important matter is shareholder approval. Since the proposal discussed earlier involve major corporate decisions, shareholder must be provided with sufficient information before any approval is obtained during the AGM. This include clear explanation of the proposal, possible risk, financial impact, and the company's future direction in moving forward. Considering the tighter cash position and operational pressure presented earlier, shareholder might also pay closer attention to management justification for this proposal.
I have a question. So, even if the company become private later, shareholder will still expect proper transparency and reporting from management.
Yes, Mrs. Lim, definitely. The conversion would not remove the board's responsibility to maintain proper governance and accountability practices. In fact, during periods of uncertainty like now, shareholder and stakeholder usually pay even closer attention to management decision.
What about the proposed share buyback exercise discussed earlier? Would the company need separate approval for that during the AGM?
Yes, Puan Rohani, the share buyback proposal would normally require shareholder approval as part of the AGM process. Management will also need to ensure that all relevant documents and explanatory notes are circulated properly before the meeting.
I think proper communication will be very important later. Some stakeholders may assume the privatization proposal and the share buyback exercise are directly connected.
Especially after today's financial presentation. Naturally, shareholder may start asking whether the company is planning a larger restructure exercise moving forward.
Yes, management understands that concerns. That's why management plans to prepare detailed explanations and supporting documents before the AGM later. We want shareholders to clearly understand the purpose behind each proposal before any voting takes place.
Actually, I think the clarification is quite useful. Sometimes people assume becoming private means the company can reduce most compliance responsibilities completely, but clearly the board will still carry major responsibilities afterwards.
Yes, exactly. Good governance, proper financial controls, and director fiduciary duties would still continue regardless of the company's status. Another point management should also consider is shareholder perception. Even if the proposals are financially reasonable, shareholder must still question why the company is proposing them now, how the company plans to move forward afterwards, and whether the proposal will benefit shareholder in the long run. So, communication strategy during the AGM will be very important.
Yeah, that's true actually. Sometimes shareholder confidence depends not only on the proposal itself, but also on how management explain it.
Especially with the current market uncertainty and weaker cash position discussed earlier, some shareholders may already feel slightly cautious about the company's future direction.
Exactly. That's why management intends to handle the communication carefully and ensure shareholders receive sufficient clarification before the AGM.
One more thing, would annual external auditors still continue if the company becomes a private later?
Of course, Mr. Yogendran, unless the company qualify for specific audit exemption under the law, annual external audit will still continue as usual. So financial oversight and accountability mechanism will still remain in place.
Thank you for the clarification and professional advice provided today. I believe the discussion have given the board a much clearer understanding regarding the governance, reporting and shareholder related implication connected to the earlier proposal. On behalf of the board, I would also like to thank the external auditor for attending today's meeting and assisting management with these clarifications.
Thank you, Dato, and to all the members of the board.
Very well, we shall now continue with preparation for the upcoming annual general meeting. We shall now move to the next agenda regarding preparation for the upcoming annual general meeting. Ms. Tina, perhaps you may brief the board on the current AGM preparation status.
Thank you, Dato. Preparation for the AGM is currently in progress. The notice of AGM, draft resolution, shareholders' documents, and supporting papers are currently being finalized by management and the secretarial team. Based on the current timeline, management expects the AGM documents to be circulated to shareholders within the required notice period. The audience financial statement for the financial year ended 31 December 2025 will also be included in the AGM document for shareholders' review consideration. Apart from the ordinary business matters, several special business items discussed earlier today may also need to be included in the AGM agenda later, subject to the board's final approval. These include matters relating to the proposed share buyback exercise and any further developments regarding the proposed privatization study. In addition, under the company's constitution, several directors are due to retirement by rotation during the upcoming AGM. Based on the current register of directors, Mr. Lim Swee Sok and Puan Rohani binti Abdullah are among directors are due for retirement and re-election consideration during the AGM. That includes my briefing, Dato.
Thank you, Ms. Tina. Regarding the retirement by rotation, I believe both directors have indicated their willingness to continue serving on the board.
Yes, Dato. I am willing to continue serving if shareholders still place confidence in me.
Same from me as well, Dato. I'm prepared to continue contributing to this company moving forward.
Good. On behalf of the board, I would also like to thank both directors for their contributions and commitment throughout their service. Management is supportive of their re-election during the upcoming AGM.
I think both Mr. Lim and Puan Rohani have contributed significantly to the board discussion, especially during recent challenging periods.
Yes, continuity within the board is important, especially with the current market situation and the strategic matters currently being discussed by the company.
And both directors also have strong understanding of the company operation and governance matters, which will continue benefiting the board moving forward.
Very true. Ms. Tina, please ensure the necessary resolution regarding the retirement and re-elections of directors are properly prepared for inclusion in the AGM notice and agenda.
Noted, Dato. The necessary documentation will be prepared accordingly.
Management will also coordinate closely with the secretarial team to ensure all AGM preparations remain on schedule.
Good. Since several important matters may be tabled during this year's AGM, I hope all preparation can be complete carefully and within the required time. Thank you everyone for the discussion. We shall now move to the final agenda item for today's meeting. Before we conclude today's meeting, are there any other matter anyone would like to raise?
Nothing further from me, Dato.
Additional from my side as well.
No further matters from me.
Nothing further.
Very well. Before we end the meeting, I would like to thank everyone for the constructive discussions and commitment shown throughout today's sessions. I think today's meeting was especially important considering the current business challenges faced by the company and the numbers of strategic matters discussed by the board. Several follow-up actions will now need to be carried out by the management, particularly regarding first, the proposed privatization study, second, the share buyback exercise, third, risk management planning, and lastly, AGM preparation.
Yes, Dato', management will continue coordinating closely with the company secretary and relevant advisors to ensure all matters discussed today are followed properly.
Noted, Dato', the secretarial team will also monitor the necessary documentation and AGM timeline accordingly.
Good. I also hope all directors will continue giving their support and guidance to management during this period because market conditions remain quite challenging.
Definitely, Dato'. I think communication between the board and management will become even more important moving forward.
Especially with the numbers of a proposal that may eventually be brought to shareholders during the AGM later.
Exactly. Hopefully, the company will be able to navigate the current situation carefully and continue maintaining stability despite the external challenges. If there are no further matter, I shall now conclude today's Board of Directors meeting. On behalf of the company, thank you once again, everyone, for your times and participations. Please stay safe and have a good day ahead. The meeting is hereby adjourned at 12:35 p.m.
Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato.
Thank you, board members.